Everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today is June 5th, 2023. Happy birthday to all the people having birthdays today. And it brings me great sadness to also be sharing the news of the passing of one of my cousins. And this cousin means a whole lot to me. This cousin of mine means so much that one of the sub channels on this channel is named after him. It's called Musicians Everywhere Learning. I made that when my cousin reached out to me because he said he was wanting to learn how to play guitar. So my cousin Mel, we played in Little League together, and it's hard to believe that through all of these births and birthdays that we don't often give enough time to our loved ones. And we kind of overlook some of the things that we're attempting to discuss with one another, sometimes because we're disgusted with the discussion. Now, I don't mean to be trying to sound like I'm into numerology or New Age voodoo or anything like that. But I will tell you that today I was performing my civic duty in the form of jury duty. Got my my parking ticket to validate for you that I'm passing through these channels in real life time. I'm discussing these things with people, some of you, through multiple channels, including this channel itself. And I'm discussing it with you in a very compelling way. And in a way, what I'm trying to suggest is that many of us are in over our heads. Now, for me, I've got the trees over my head. So the trees are over my head, and I'm not in over my head. I understand there are trees there. I can hear the birds singing in the trees. Do any of you remember the Cardinals, the song of the Cardinal? Sometimes we see certain things so frequently that we can overlook it. So my cousin Mel, he wanted to learn to play guitar. And I suggested an app on our phone that I like to use. And I also helped him to get a guitar. My dad actually helped him to get that guitar. And I wanted to take it to the next level, but first I wanted to know, is my cousin committed to learning? Now I'm talking as if my cousin is right here with me, riding along, and he can either agree or disagree with the things I'm saying. But when he was interested in backpacking, I was the first one to give him a backpack. One of my favorite backpacks. When he got into playing music, I went through this journey and I acquired a guitar that pretty much was free of cost. And so I was like, this one has to be for my cousin. And then all kinds of weird things happened, including one of my direct family members setting their house on fire. It's so unusual that I'm getting the words backwards in some cases. Although I'm fully aware that that house, composed of wood, such as from these trees over my head, was composed of the very fabric of what we are. our nature is to have fun and to play, to love. And today I was in court and there were people worried about all kinds of things, tending to all kinds of, much like this, looking at something other than where we were in the moment. Because of that, we had a long day in court. For me, it started as early as 4 a.m. when I woke up, possibly because I was sleeping a little bit less soundly, knowing that I was going to have to get up and do something unusual. So my mind probably was already in it. Knowing that I just yesterday saw the information that prompted me to listen to a message that was telling me that my cousin had passed away. In all of these thoughts, there seems to be an umbrella for me of prioritization of thought, where I can prioritize things saying, my cousin, I lost my cousin. This guy, I just had breakfast with him. We talked about things like the 7-day vegan challenge. We talked about lucid dreaming. We talked about focusing on our own forgiveness. And while we were there living and enjoying the moment together, I know there are people who are unable to bring themselves to those gatherings. Today I felt very much like I was in a family gathering when I was at court. So I feel like I came up short by not really going out of my way to have these absolutely astounding conversations. There were people who were on edge because they had to be in a place that was different from expected. And think about the generational differences, the health differences. What the health are we experiencing right now? And so for some reason, even in the midst of all of that, I tried to be cheerful. I tried to smile. I tried to open the door for people. Eventually, I had to let myself in. And while I was there, I had plenty of time to receive messages and to respond to the messages and to choose to send messages to the people with whom I would want to communicate. Friends, family, new friends, new family, old friends, old family. However you think about it, the whole purpose and intent of what I'm saying is that during this course of time, I've been inundated with requests to help. And I've had trouble helping myself in the past, letting myself in the door, guarding myself from the bullies. And I know a lot of you have been in the same commitment. What we committed to in the past, we don't need to commit to in the future. And if the word commit doesn't mean anything to you, well, I was in a place today where we were being pooled so that we could commit to helping a system decide on whether or not someone committed something that they were being judged for. The first instance of adulthood is responsibility. And once we accept responsibility, You might hear it in many different formats. Accept Christ, accept peace, accept yourself. Once we accept ourselves, we can go into this daunting journey knowing we are meeting daily with people, some much wiser and some much younger than ourselves. And every one of these people are going through their own commitments, sometimes without realizing that they can break those obligations in a moment. The moment that I recognized that my health was ailing was the moment that I continued to show this is what it takes to regain our health, body, mind, and spirit. The moment I recognized that was when I heard it from some cat up the road. Pretty smart person, Ralph, I believe their name. They talked about a 7-day vegan challenge. Today, I really don't know how else to tell this story. And so I'm going to tell you I'm 5 days in to my vegan challenge. I've continued to lose weight. I've continued to improve my health. My VO2 max finally went up a point. And all of these gradual changes against all odds have been occurring in addition to the work and also superfluous work, such as being a juror and then sometimes just being dismissed early. But also sometimes being called back over and over and over again. So here I was in a situation where I was called again to serve my community. And there I was among a lot of people with whom I could absolutely resonate. If only sometimes we had the opportunity to sing, and we do. Among my peers, I was able to bring a few smiles and a few conversations to life and a few thoughts about nature. But my delivery in the past, in terms of how we communicate these things, has fallen short. I let down my own cousin. Even though I wanted to inspire him so much that I named a channel after him and tried everything I could to interact with my cousin. I let him down. And some people might say, no, you didn't let him down. I must have. Because my family, where are they? When I asked for help with the ailing relatives that I've got, the thing about this therapy that we're experiencing right now in this group therapy, is that there is nobody else who will sell you the magic pill to recover your health or your sanity or your peace, your body, mind, and spirit. Don't get me wrong. Some of this is on loan. And if we're not paying our dues, someone's going to collect. That's just the way of all of life. It's just the way of life. So I woke up at 4, had all these things going through my mind, tried to go to sleep. I was going to wake up at 6 already so that I could make sure I could get to the place I was going to park at, an unfamiliar location. Thankfully, I had 2 different ways to navigate. One beautiful system built into this vehicle, one built into the thing that's recording this, that's going right to you right now. I had them both going because I didn't want to I didn't want to falter, and sometimes you get between those tall buildings and start losing signal. Anyway, thankfully, I was able to be navigated to where I was supposed to be, thanks to my trusty steed that you're enjoying right now. Thankfully, I was able to get in early. I complimented a gentleman's shoes. He was wearing the same Hoka Speed Goat, which is a trail running shoe that I run in frequently. And we had a conversation about that, and among other things. And I had conversations starting at that point in time in sporadic intervals with the people I believe I was supposed to have conversations with. But there were some instances where I kept thinking, maybe I'm supposed to initiate a conversation. What would Jesus do? I can tell you a whole lot of people are wrapped up in themselves right now. If I had one more day to spend to speak with my cousin, if I had met up with him in court, and there was someone who looked very much like my cousin in court today, by the way. If I had been able to just run into him by mistake, just the same as I've been able to talk with him on purpose, with intent, we would have had a grand conversation. A fortunate conversation. We would have laughed. We would have come up with stories. We would have felt each other's losses, well-being, experiences, because we cared. When we care about something, when we love something, we nurture it. And I love my cousin. That's why I made a channel to try and help him learn to play music. Now you can tell not a lot of the topics on here talk just about learning to play music, unless you really look for it. But even then, you can tell. When I tell you I let my cousin down by not focusing 100% on just showing a success plan, that's how I feel. That must be why my own direct relative won't reach out to me. Whenever I try to initiate contact with this person, it's very difficult. And so while I was at the courthouse or at the jury area today, and while I was waiting to be assigned to a pool, I saw that once again I got a message from someone else who is somehow in our friends and family circle. They have some of the belongings of what was at this relative's house who burned down their own property. Somehow this person was notified and was able to become available to help collect things out of my direct relative's home before I was. Let's just say I was the only child of the person whose home we're talking about. You would think that in some way, the communications and transactions that would have occurred might have involved the direct relative. It didn't. That's why my cousin and I would get together to have breakfast on our own. While our family is gathering in order to pay respects, I want to respectfully address the reason that I am not participating in some of the old ways. I feel that we could all nurture one another better. I recognize the shortcomings, and I start to experience situations where talking with people who are not in my family leads to an extreme lack of communication and a continued roundabout approach to discussing the same thing that we all want to discuss. The reason we are interacting with each other, whether it be virtually or otherwise, is because we have the opportunity to speak about things that bring us life, bring us joy, bring us health, bring us wealth. And we also have the opportunity to talk everything down, talk about. Rarely do we talk with any longer. And so that's why I try to raise the bar. It's a tedious, uncomfortable thing to do in some cases. To talk with a margin of honesty so honest that we're able to actually know how each other feels, how one another feels, just by the shared energy where we're connected in that conversation space. That's what a jury is for. In the past, that's what family gatherings would be for. In the past, I've gone to the family gatherings, led the Our Father, saying words of peace. And in the future from that past, we've seen an exponential decline in communication among our fathers. In my family. I'm not saying it's in your family. So if it's not in your family, you don't have to just give me a thumbs down right away. At least hang in there and hear what I'm saying. Give me a thumbs up. If you've hung in there this long, I deserve a thumbs up for that. And also a subscribe. If you're listening to this right now, you understand that this message isn't just for you, it's for other people, but it's also for myself. And so you're trying to hear this and go, yeah, I kind of see what he's saying. I kind of can agree. Of course you can agree with what I'm saying. We can all choose to nurture one another. And we can also not agree with one another, and we can present another perspective and say, well, what about this? What if the decline in the bats overnight has to do with the decline in the insects that we generally were seeing? What if a lot of the foods that we're eating are resulting in the long-term obesity epidemic that we're experiencing? What if type 2 diabetes is 100% reversible by changing what we eat? What if that smart cat up the road and their 7-day vegan challenge wasn't really a challenge? What if it made life easier? So this is the second 2 videos ago, I talked about a rock cairn. If I was talking with my cousin Mel about this, I'd be saying, hey man, sometimes people build these rock cairns in the middle of nowhere, and it's kind of disturbing to the wildlife. You can see wildlife go up to it, like some of the birds will be standoffish. They don't recognize that thing. It wasn't there before. They don't want to land next to it. In favor of wildlife, I feel that we should be more aware of things like that. My cousin, very much a hunter and very much into observation of animal and animal behavior, would notice that. So would my friends. I don't know if Mr. Diesel is paying attention. If they are, they're going to understand exactly what I'm saying. When you can perceive the mannerisms of wildlife, sometimes you can start to perceive the mannerisms of the human animal just as clearly, sometimes more clearly, because the human animal is pretty sloppy. And that's why things are committed and judged. I'm not the judge of it. But as I saw in another well-known movie or something, there was a snippet of a sound clip where someone said, "We know what happens at the end. From point A to point B, we know what ends at happen. Point A, let's say from A to Z, we know what happens at Z. Whether we want to admit it, and this shouldn't make you feel insecure, we will all pass away. But knowing that, we sure don't have to take the trajectory that we are currently taking, knowing what happens at point Z. But for some of us, point Z is so far off that we haven't even magnified the thought of, well, maybe if I look in that direction, point Z is closer on the horizon than it appears. Kind of like when you look in the mirror, something might be closer than it appears if you're looking in the side view mirrors. Objects may be closer than they appear. With the passing of my cousin in mind, I used to think he was my first cousin because my first cousin, his mother, was born at a different time from me. And I, in my mind, registered age with having to do with whether you're an aunt or an uncle versus a cousin. With all this in mind, I'd like to say for any of the praying people, any of the devout, spiritual, law of attraction, whatever, anyone who's into peace, please pray for peace among my cousin's family. My cousin's at rest. He's done what he can do. Whatever comes next, I'm not the judge of it. I'd be hard-pressed to come up with an answer for it, except for I know that we spent time exchanging love. My cousin and I, we understood deeply the things that we were causing. We took responsibility. And for that, we were able to experience an open conversation between the two of us. Things that you normally would go to a therapist for, or even a priest. So I love and miss my cousin. And for anyone who's learning to play music or to get healthy again, and who wants to help to see this journey become more successful so that we can help to resonate this story in a way that's profound, that gets back to our fathers, then please help. You know how to help already. Help by looking at your own, look in the mirror first, but look at nature. Find your place in nature. And nature means one another as well. You can hear the sirens no matter where I'm going. Whenever I'm talking about a story, the helicopters are coming by. The chaos is all around. But even despite all the chaos, I'm still able to concentrate enough to maintain focus and say, I'm not worried. I'm not worried. I wasn't worried for my cousin. I'm not worried. I'm not worried for I'm not worried for some people. I can't say for everybody. I'm kind of worried for some people out there. You might know who you are. I'm kind of worried. But mostly all I can really worry about is myself. What do I bring to the table daily that I can show to the higher power and say, look what I did. This is how I experienced it. I smiled. Had a good time. What can I do so that I can help other people do the same thing? If I feel a little bit down lately and people haven't cheered me up, maybe that's why I'm not being as outgoing. Maybe that's why I didn't go out of my way to force a new guitar into my cousin's hand, into his hands, and say, let me teach you to play that. Maybe it's my fault. Collectively, maybe it's all of our fault. And maybe we need to get past thinking about the fault issue and start thinking, what do we do to pick ourselves up and move forward in a way that's beneficial to everyone who is currently left behind in this repetitive system where we continue to seemingly do the same things over and over without even thinking about it, because we can't figure out what love is, what peace is. That's a tragedy. Peace, love, and all that old school stuff. Till next time, thank you so much for watching.